For North American TF2, the prestige of qualifying to ECA LAN and playing in it was highly sought after. Only 4 teams could make it each season, and with LAN happening a few times each year, players dedicated their time to practicing and fighting for the privilege of playing on LAN. To make it even harder, dominant faces like Tyrone and Banny Team, the Leviathan, the Quantic, the Amazing Gaming, and Classic Mixup became reoccurring faces at the LAN, making the chances of other players getting there look like a pipe dream from afar. Early in TF2's humble history as an esport, orgs vied for a chance to create a tale of dominance, with names like Evil Geniuses, Complexity, and Dynamic. Of the many that tried, Complexity found early success, winning the first ECA Invite LAN in Season 5. Regardless of notoriety, sponsorship, or representation, skill and longevity would crown the best in TF2. ECA Seasons 7 to 10 had 3 of the 4 LANs going the way of Classic Mixup or the Tyrone and Banny-led teams. The only exception was Czech 6 Gaming in Season 8. That team was helmed by future Classic Mixup players, Harblu and TLR. They shocked the North American scene with the first ever flawless invite run, on top of playing with intermediate move-ups Dave AC, Kalkin, Uv, and invite newcomer Valen. But TF2 at this time was starting to wind down from the initial hype of potentially becoming a big esport. Organizations that we know as the best from today, like Evil Geniuses, had already left. And with a poor finish at ECA Season 8 LAN, Complexity would soon follow after. With the wishful thinking of becoming an esport backed by Valve, the community continued on with the support of ECA, and this grassroots esport would be fueled by the efforts of the community itself. From the now departing Complexity roster, the core of Enigma, Relic, and Platinum would continue to play together, eventually leading to the formation of the iconic Classic Mixup. This first iteration of the Mixup squad would be completed with Harblu from Czech 6 on Soldier, Messer from Blight on Medic, and the up-and-comer Moose on Scout. Mixup, like the other invite teams, aspired to be the best in the region. But for Plat and Enigma, they were just as intent on settling the score against Tyrone and Banny's team, then Amazing Gaming, for the lower bracket match that eliminated a Complexity from LAN in Season 8. Classic Mixup's first season together, Season 9, was a very strong debut. In the regular season, they did trade maps with Amazing Gaming, but also lost in 2 close matches versus the Experiment, the second-seeded team in the season that featured future Mixup members TLR and Pure. While Mixup did lose their initial match on LAN against the Experiment, the newly formed team improved as the LAN progressed, exacting revenge upon the Experiment with a win in the lower bracket final. But it wasn't enough to beat EMG, now called the Prophets, in the grand finals. The Mixup roster wasn't quite there yet, and they just needed one more push to get them over that hurdle. In came TLR, one of the best pocket soldiers in the North American scene, over from the Experiment. TLR's veteran experience and DM-heavy skill set had been made apparent with the aforementioned Czech 6 Gaming roster, cementing himself as one, if not the best, pocket soldier in the scene. To make room for TLR, Harblu had swapped to Medic. With added firepower to the lineup, Mixup now had what they needed to contest Banny and Tyrone, whose team would sign under Quantic Gaming. Moose himself now had his first LAN under his belt, and the wealth of experience and firepower powered Mixup in a season where them and Quantic stood far and beyond the rest of the invite competition. Mixup finished 14-2, while Quantic would finish 15-1. In their initial LAN match versus the Experiment, Mixup made light work of their opening opponents. But Classic Mixup fell flat against Quantic in their fated match in the upper bracket finals. To lose on map 3, Badlands, especially a decider map that goes to the final round, would have dispirited a team. But a pattern from the last LAN had become more apparent, where Mixup started slow, but ramped things up as the tournament progressed. After dispatching the Experiment in the lower bracket final, Classic Mixup were ready to apply what they learned from their upper bracket final loss. And despite facing a bracket reset disadvantage and being a map down, Classic Mixup ran the gauntlet against Quantic. In one of the closest grand finals in competitive TF2 history, they came back from a map 1 loss to winning map 2 product in a slugfest that was decided by 1 round. Yet, Quantic punched above their weight on the decider map Granary, putting Classic Mixup on a tournament point with a 4-2 lead. Mixup would stage a comeback and force a bracket reset, despite the mounting pressures, giving Quantic a taste of their own medicine.
Can he possibly do this? Can he go this big? Mackie doesn't have a shotty though. Oh, he's gonna get shut down by Enigma. What a mid-fight. 11 died. Enigma remained and got the cap. Justin, oh my lord.
He's spawning now. Now we have 2 seconds left, so yeah, here they come in, but Mixup all over the
they got it.
It's
Wow.
not gonna go. Mixup forces this to another best of 3.
With the tide turning in their favor, Classic Mixup took the inch Quantic gave them and ran a mile with it, never looking back, taking the next 2 maps, Gullywash and Warmfront, to upset, completing the comeback and stealing Quantic's thunder to win the LAN.
That is probably going to be game, guys, right there. Ooh, excuse me, as a Moose, that back cap, Mixup in the end, just a little bit too strong. I mean, we can't call it quite yet as it's not official, but the CB at last, it's close as it's going to get without being over, so.
Now there's only Banny and the medic. CB does not have Uber. You can expect Juan to come in. Banny's got to put the entire LAN on his shoulders right now. With any semblance to try to defend this. He goes down, and that's it, Seabear. They're going to have a cap for Mixup.
That's it. They won. So Mixup's going to win the LAN. Congratulations to them. Improbable comeback at the start of the day. I think about 80 to 90% of our viewers, people out there watching, expected Quantic to be able to take it home. And boy, they really had a great chance at the end of that first best of 3. But in the end, it's Mixup, and they're going to win it. So, whew, I think that might have been the best event of TF2 that we have ever seen. It's going to be tough to top that one. We had it all. Epic matches and a best of 3, followed by another best of 3. Justin, we stuck around. We casted basically all of it. Any final
With Season 11 just around the corner, there's something that comes along with winning a championship and thinking that maybe you've accomplished it all. So why not look for a change in scenery? For TLR and Harblu, that may have been the case. But especially gut-punching was Harblu's move to Mihi's flow, where he would link up with Pure and Ruin. There was a reason for this, and it would all come to light very soon. On May 21st, 2012, Multiplay had announced Insomnia 46, which would take place at the Telford International Centre in England. Multiplay was no stranger to TF2, having hosted one of the very first LAN events of Team Fortress 2, all the way back in November of 2007. But I-46 would be unique from all the previous Insomnia events, because North America was coming to Europe. In light of the announcement, Pure, Ruin, and originally Valen had come together with one intention: create a juggernaut that would represent North America and defeat Europe at I-46.
I think when we were planning to do Mihi's flow, we spoke with Valen, who at the time had there was kind of a polarizing view on him in his attitude. His skill was definitely there, and I think he was on a team with Orzo and a few other people and did quite well. I think they may have either gone undefeated or just did something, memorable. So I always had a good, good vibes with Valen. Ruin reminds me of Banny, Clockwork, not myself in this regard. Basically what I'm saying is that there were some players that started in Open IM, I guess that's how it usually goes, but there are these players that were really, really good that spent an inordinate amount of time in intermediate, and I'm not sure if it was because they didn't want to commit so much time to the game, or they were still learning how to be a team player, or just, that's where their friends were. I'm sure there's a myriad of reasons.
This would be the first cross-continental clash on LAN in competitive TF2 history. And the narrative, once strictly regional, shifted towards an international one. Who was the better continent? Of the trio that sought to represent North America, Valen wouldn't end up on the final roster. Instead, Mihi's flow would be composed of Pure on Medic, Ruin on Scout, Invite Great Wonderwall and Harblu as the Soldier duo, Area 51 Soup on Demoman, and a wildcard, Shrugger as the Flank Scout. Though he would later shine on High Rollers Gaming in Season 13, Shrugger at this time was unproven on LAN, and would have to prove his worth amidst a star-studded roster. Ruin himself was also an anomaly on this roster. Ruin had reinvented himself from his Season 3 and Season 4 invite days of Medic. Now he was a scout, toiling around an intermediate with Pure. But whatever transpired down there impressed Pure enough to continue playing with Ruin into invite. Could Ruin play scout at an invite level, despite not having played invite in so long? Only time would tell. What people did know is that with Pure as the main caller, Harblu, the champion, back on Soldier, and having names like Ruin and Wonderwall meant that this team was a lock for ECA LAN at the minimum. Taking a risk on his scouts was something Pure had deliberated on deeply. Shrugger, especially, was a huge risk, leading many to believe that Pure's previous scout, Justin from the experiment, would have been a better choice. Shrugger was an unknown quantity versus someone who was already LAN proven and consistent at the top level.
Mihi's flow, deciding between Shrugger and Justin. Justin was your former teammate in the experiment. Shout out the experiment, that was a sick team. So the question was really between Justin and Shrugger, and it was a difficult one. I think if you have the ability to make teams and the fortunate position to be at the top of whatever tier you're in, you get in these situations where both players are good for this role, and each one brings something else to the table. So in terms of Justin and Shrugger, Justin was dependable, Justin was consistent, Justin had a sick sniper, he was really good at that, so that was good for off-classing. Also super smart guy, so when Justin was playing the game a lot, you could always just go with him. He's awesome. Shrugger at this time was new blood, pure talent, super soft-spoken, very nice guy, and we essentially just went with the new blood. It was the magic behind Mihi's flow. Shrugger just fit. He was the perfect Shrugger build, right? It's a decent meme to come out of that. No, but he was the perfect supportive scout. Would do anything that you needed. Gave Ruin the ability to, go off on his own, mess up, make big plays, and Shrugger was always there, Mr. Dependable. We went with Shrugger because he was new blood and he fit the team dynamic a little bit more, which I would say across the board worked out. If your metric for success is winning LAN or doing the best that you can that season, which most people say it is, for me the ROI on playing video games in ESCA was so little that, and at the point in my career, my metrics for success probably strayed further from what other people were pushing the game as. Of course, you want to win, and we're super competitive, but that season in many ways transcended TF2, and it was awesome.
On the other hand, Mixup's plan for I-46 were not apparent, but after speaking to Enigma, one of the leaders of Mixup, they had to start from square one again and build a LAN-capable roster. This enacted the return of Smacka, an old teammate from the Complexity days, to fill the Demoman role. Shrew filled what once was Harblue's old role on Medic. Shrew was much like Shrugger, a raw talent. Shrew had only one season of Intermediate and Open to his name. Mihi's flow and Mixup's starts to the season couldn't be more polarizing. Mihi's flow breezed through the regular season. Despite starting slow, they would rout the majority of Invite, while keeping it close versus the eventual LAN competition. The only blip to their regular season record of 15-1 was a loss to Tyrone and Vanny's team, Quantic, in the final week of the season on Granary. One that, funnily enough, gave us one of the most iconic clips of that era.
Quantic opts to push back in or not. Clockwork goes down, but who cares about that? He's a scout, he'll be back up right away.
Yeah, they're able to recapture point. Uber was popped, so they're going to try to leapfrog middle. Will flow. Banny! Oh, people sticky trap! I didn't see where that was!
Yeah, in the log! It was in the log on the other side of point.
One more important thing to note from this season were pure streams of Mihi's Flow's matches. Viewers got an insight into the inner workings of an Invite TF2 team, and how they communicated. Those videos can still be found on YouTube today, as a matter of fact. But let's not forget about Mixup. They struggled hard. Marred by early season struggles and roster conflicts, the roster would hit a low point in a loss to intermediate move-ups Pinball Wizards on week 1. Their slew of bad performances would continue, affecting their rookie medic Shrew the most. A pivotal game against Seriously Bro saw Shrew dropping 3 Ubers in a close 4-5 loss, and led to his dismissal. KPK would be poached from Pinball Wizards to fill the vacancy. And not long after, Relic would also leave due to internal differences, leading to Classic Mixup once again poaching another Pinball Wizards player to fulfill the Pocket Soldier role. Future Invite great Lansky. Despite these changes, they fared okay against the other top teams. They lost twice to Mihi's Flow and Seriously Bro each, but they did come out on top against Quantic in 2 5-4 matches. And with all of the turmoil surrounding the season, these 2 wins were pivotal and sent Classic Mixup LAN bound.